Hello, welcome to another episode of Deck Musings. So we are up to here, just around here, March the 1st, 2001. Planeshift has just come in to standard. But before I do that, I just want to thank everybody that's been commenting on the videos. It's very nice when people do that. Although I do have a tendency to just plough my own furrow and carry on regardless of popular opinion. In most projects I do, it is really nice when both long-term friends of the channel and new friends of the channel check out the videos, comment, those sort of things. Hopefully, for those people, and there's been a number of subscriptions recently, people subscribe to the channel. Hopefully you're sort of sticking with it, and what you originally thought the channel might have been about when you subscribe for a particular video. Hopefully you'll find other content on here that's to your liking. So yeah, thanks very much for all everybody's continued viewing and continued commenting. It is much appreciated, even though I do have a tendency to just go with my own flow. But it's always really nice when people are enthusiastic about content as I am, and sort of comment on my enthusiasm. Back when I was lecturing, that was always really nice when students sort of made that comment, that they really appreciated my enthusiasm and passion for things. So that's good. Anyway, back to the job in hand. We've got interesting deck this week. I suppose I always say that. We'll see why in a moment. So we're here. We did cover fires last week, so we won't be revisiting that. Red-green was you could say a bit of a thing at this point in time. So we've had Planeshift added in. And indeed, when I come to do what's Friday's artwork video, which is now featuring decks, theme decks, for a little while, I'm going to have a Planeshift deck to go back through. So that's going to be cool. So yeah, Planeshift has just come in. So that does give the opportunity to talk about, as I've said, one of my favourite formats, which is block constructed, because we have a Pro Tour just a couple of weeks after, 2 to 3 weeks after the release of Planeshift, which was in Tokyo, and it comprised of Invasion and Planeshift. So it'll be good, because then we just see the cards from the 2 most recent sets. So Zvi won it. So we featured I think Zvi decks before. He was a very prominent deck builder at the time. I'm not sure how prominent he is now, but yeah, at the time, a lot of decks that had actually started out with him and then played by others, or started out with him and it was piloted by him, turned up in tournament play. Yeah, and he won. So we're going to look at his deck, called The Solution. I did wonder, what the solution to what? I'm assuming it was the solution to winning the tournament. And you can see a lot of the top 8 here, I always want to say top 10, a lot of the top 8 were red-green decks. Now, of course, last week's deck, which was a Fires deck, it was a red-green deck, and okay, there was some variants of it, splashing other colours. Well, you can see here red-green being a thing in that particular block. 2 sets in. This one, you can see, is white blue, and I think probably this might be one of my original favourite colour combinations. I particularly enjoy white blue flies and variations thereof. Saying that, you can do some interesting things with white black flies as well. But yeah, white blue flies. So we'll see how flying this deck actually is, because with all of these I deliberately don't poke around at the deck too much, but I do poke around enough to just try and understand a little bit about, you know, the naming of the deck. So the solution was originally in an invasion block constructed deck by Mowshowitz. I think that's how you pronounce it. However, today the same name is in general used to refer to any blue-white aggro control deck, most of which using Meddling Mage. Most of them use small, efficient creatures for early board advantage and then keep the opponent off with counterspells or white removal. Some card draw, and sometimes a finishing big flyer, such as Exalted Angel, or Maloku the Clouded Mirror is used. Sometimes these decks have additional colours, primarily black or red, under different names, such as Dump Truck, Rackadeck Winds, or Trinket Angel. Yeah, so here we go. The heavily red environment invasion block constructed. The cunning plan won him the Pro Tour Tokyo 2001. And then you've got Temporary Solution, Tempest Dark Steel Extended. Oh, good old Gilded Drake. That's a pretty expensive card by all accounts. And the Age of Trinket Mage. So I'll include a link to this if it's something you want to poke around in, because it is an interesting design space. That one looks a bit over the top. Also, and I keep forgetting to track these down, I've actually tracked down, it's a bit grainy, but game 1 of Pro Tour Tokyo 2001 finals. So it's rather grainy in that, you know, it's difficult to pick out the cards, but hopefully what we'll go through here is going to help you, and you can watch this. I haven't looked to see if there's other games in the final or other games in the semi-finals or not. But yeah, there we go. So I'll include a link to that. So let's have a look at the solution here. So you can see, let's just scroll through. I should really do this where I just give you a quick overview. You're real high up, so you can see 20 creatures, 16 instants, 24 lands, and a 15 card sideboard. So pretty simple really. So the main board is, apart from the land, is all instants and creatures. So here we go, and you can see here, this is your invasion symbol, this is your Planeshift symbol. So Stormscape Apprentice, single blue, and then white, tap target creature, black tap, target player loses 1 life. There are a cycle of these which we'll see. Crimson Acolyte, 1 and a white, 1/1, protection from red, 1, target creature gains protection from red until end of turn. White blue has protection from red. Sorry, white blue. Galina's Knight has protection from protection from red. It's red. Dear me, protection from red, and it's a 2/2. And Meddling Mage is another white blue card. This one's from Planeshift. It's a 2/2 as well. When it comes into play, name a non-land card. The named card cannot be played. Voice of All, it's 2 and 2 white with flying. It's a 2/2, and as it comes into play, you choose a colour. and Voice of All has protection from the chosen colour. So that's our well, you can see, sorry, what you can see here is there's no, in this deck, when you think about the sort of things I was talking about on the MTG Wiki article, the creatures aren't particularly big, but you can see what out of this, they're all 4-ofs, and out of the different creatures, 4 out of the 5 all have protection from, well, actually, so 3 out of the 5 have protection from a specific colour. One of them basically prevents things from a certain card from being played, and then this last one here, the Stormscape Apprentice, allows you to tap down. So each of these, I suppose where I'm going with this, have some sort of way of nerfing something, be it through colour or naming it or tapping it down. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Instance here, so we'll see if we've got any interesting combat tricks. It looks like with this deck it's probably mostly stuff just trying to gum things up, and you'll notice sometimes with white blue decks it's around the other way, so you get a lot of cheap like counter and removal, and then slightly larger white and blue creatures. This almost seems like the reverse, where you've got small white and blue creatures, right? Yeah, and then the instants are slightly more expensive and probably slightly more, as a consequence, slightly more splashy, have a more dramatic effect on the board maybe, but we'll see as we go through. So 4 absorbs, white and 2 blue, counter target spell, you gain 3 life. Exclude, 2 and a blue, counter target spell, draw a card. Repulse, 2 and a blue, return a target creature to its owner's hand, you get to draw a card. So 2 out of these so far have card draw on them. Notice that again they're all 4-ofs. Fact or fiction, 3 and a blue, reveal the top 5 cards of your library. An opponent separates those cards into 2 face-up piles. Put one pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. A land base, pretty straightforward. We've got the white-blue Coastal Tower, so it comes into play tapped, so it's a little on the slow side, but once it untaps it can tap for white or blue. 10 islands, 10 plains, and 4 of the Coastal Towers. So again, fairly straightforward mana base there. Our sideboard, so let's see what we have here. We've got 4 copies of Disrupt, so single blue, counter target instant or sorcery spell, unless its controller pays 1, draw a card. Aura Blast, 1 and a white instant, destroy target enchantment, draw a card. Gainsay, 1 and a blue, counter target blue spell. And there's 3 of those. 3 Pure Reflections, so 2 and a white. Whenever a player plays a creature spell, destroy all reflections. Then that creature puts a white reflection creature token into play with power and toughness each equal to the converted mana cost of that spell. And then we've got 3 Crusading Knights, 2 and 2 white, protection for black. Crusading Knight gets +1/+1 for each swamp your opponents control. So it's going to be interesting when we come to do the deep dive in a moment and we start to go down the various rabbit holes. How are reflections represented in this set, in this block, and why was this in here? So most important thing first, our land base. So that's the island artwork, and it would be from Invasion. Those are our planes. What are my favourites here? I do really like this land, this artwork here. And on this one, I don't know, there's something about this one I'm always drawn to. Okay, here we have a coastal tower. It's been reprinted in 8th edition. I can't remember what Magic Online theme deck that would be. And then the dual deck and the starter commander deck used it. So and yeah, cycle of invasion tap lands. And you won't be surprised to see there's a ton of stuff here that it's worse than. And so it does come into play tapped. Well, let's look at the actual full cycle first, I think. We'll do that. It would help if I actually dig the tag correctly. So that's our full cycle. If we do these as the full thing in Scryfall, it's interesting to see, you know, was there parity in the reprinting? Something I don't always look at, but sometimes it's interesting with the dual lands. So you can see that there's a, you know, clearly in terms of sets, the cards have been reprinted in 8th edition. But in terms of commander product, so the Volcano was 2017. So yeah, looks like quite a number of these. We might even see all of them were in the starter commander decks. Shimano Ace is another one that was in that Phyrexia versus the Coalition. Also in Plane Chase, the original one. Yeah, Saltmarsh again, starter commander decks. And of course some of these might crop up, not surprising, in the World Champ decks, because, you know, of the particular year that Invasion was in the in Standard. Yeah, there's Elfin Palace. Again, the dual decks. And the starter deck in 2017. And then the first one we looked at. But going back and just, yeah, there's obviously tons of blue-white stuff. So worse than Azorius Guildgate. Now, yeah, seems the same. I'm assuming because there were certain cards in that period that liked you to play gates, and there was an win condition, I think, revolving around gates, so that's possibly why that's considered to be, this is, you know, when it says worse than, it means this is worse than Azorius Gate, so that's why Azorius Gate is considered to be better. Similar to Boreal Shelf, yeah. Cryptic Spires, interesting way of doing that. Enchanted Prairie, and then lots of worse lands. Hallowed Fountain, Mystic Monastery, that's the 3-colour one. Prairie Stream. So of course all of these have, well, I say all of them, some of these have potential to enter the battlefield tapped under certain conditions. So that's why they're better. Seaside Citadel. So obviously we see the tri-lands here, and they'd be better because they contain an additional colour. Then you've got ones that might, in terms of mana themselves, do the same thing, enter the battlefield tapped, and then tap for the colour once they're untapped, but also have additional utility, which would make them better that way. and then ones where there's flexibility of the second colour. It's interesting. Tranquil Cove. Yeah, it's just so many of these now. That's Glacial Fortress, similar to Meandering River. Yeah, the enter the battlefield tapped, sort of that straight, you know, enter the battlefield tapped and then tap for 2 colours things. For a period of time, it was a common dual land set cycle, like the full cycle of both Allied, which is in this particular set, or the set that it's from, but additionally the enemy ones as well, and those were a feature in toolkits for a period of time. If you remember, they always got included in the toolkits. Port Town. Yeah, it's interesting, all these little variants on the entering the battlefield tapped. Oh, and then you've got the refuges, of course, where you get the bonus of gaining 1 life. And then Temple of Enlightenment, which has scrying on it. It's Thriving Island. So there was some thriving lands. And Wonderwine Hub. So I'm curious, with Thriving, what was that? That was Jumpstart. Oh, so that one's been reprinted a bit. I want to have a look at those actually. Let's look at the cycle. Into the Rabbit Hole. Okay. So a Jumpstart cycle that then, where did this get reprinted? So New Capenia, Jumpstart 2020, Commander Masters, Doctor Who. Okay. This one was in Forgotten Realms. Jumpstart Forgotten Realms, New Capenia, Jumpstart 2020, Commander Masters. Oh, okay, yes, it looks like they were in Commander Masters as a cycle. It's funny how I tend to forget certain cycles like this. That's why I'm curious. Nice artwork. I need these. Yeah. The Doctor Who ones look like. Okay, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah, the original artwork's definitely nicer, isn't it? Okay, moving on. So, there's our coastal tower. Okay, Crimson Acolyte. Only ever in Invasion. So, not a cycle. Mirror of Obsidian Acolyte. So that one did black. So let's have a look at that. We'll see how many acolytes there were. It doesn't specifically tag it as being like a cycle from the set, but it looks like there was more than one acolyte in it. So maybe it's just a mirrored pair. Protects creature, gives protection, evasion. Yeah, so another form of evasion. And it allows you to evade red creatures, and give, that's the other thing, give other creatures red, and it doesn't tap this creature either. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's always nice when the ability doesn't tap the creature. So you can still do combat-y stuff with it. Okay, let's look at Acolytes. Doesn't look like I've looked at Acolytes before. I try and avoid clearing the cache on the browser, so I sort of get a bit of a heads up if I've done this in the past. I can't always guarantee that, but it gives me an idea about how long I really want to dwell on something, if at all. When did we first see Acolytes? Way back. Yep, so these are a mirrored pair. I don't know if we even have anything close to a mega cycle. Doesn't look like it. Have we ever had a cycle of Acolytes? That's the first question that springs into mind. And that's part of the, I don't know if you people watching this have the same what's the word? Sort of one of the reasons for doing this sort of stuff is it does make you think, I wonder if there was ever a cycle of those, or, you know, how big a thing was that? And then it's quite exciting when you discover that, you know, it was a thing. I don't even know what, is there a common denominator here? I mean, are they all, I mean, well, what's the highest casting cost? Yeah, I don't think so. It's not like some things where, you know, there's a commonality in some ability, but I don't really see that here. I don't think so anyway. No. But cool to look at anyway, I think. So what's the most expensive Acolyte? If you wanted to have a, you know, a binder of Acolytes as a little mini collection within Magic. Chandra, Acolyte of Flame. Wow, big bucks, eh? Is that? Let me just make sure that's in descending order. Oh, these are, yeah, historics. Let's ignore the historics. Well, there you go. Cheap collection for your Acolyte binder. What do you reckon? Acolyte tribal? What colours are we in? White is blue here. Do we get blue Acolytes? Oh no. So you'll be good with a 4-colour commander then, or just go with 5 colours and have some utility commander like, I don't know, Chromat is always a good one to, I think. I mean, you could just have one just for the colours and not really worry about playing, I suppose. But excellent. So moving on. Galina's Knight. 1 on the blue, again just in Invasion. Oh, Okay, there is a cycle of the... Oh yeah, of course. Yavimaya Barbarian, which was in last week's... yeah, it was in last week's theme deck where I did the Friday artwork video. So a cycle of these. Oh yeah, and each one, yeah, okay, so we can see 2 for 2, 2 colours to cast, and red, black, white, green, blue protection. Okay, so what's that? Protection from the, yeah, protection from the enemy of both colours. Yeah, makes perfect sense. I think I've got that right, yeah. Namesake spell. Oh, okay. Named characters. Right. Yep. Galina's. Similar to a Vidalcan Outlander. Protection for red, white, blue, 2/2. Okay. So did Vidalcan... Oh, there you go. What do you know? So, Cycle of Outlanders in... What was that set? Conflux. So I'm assuming if I go into this from anywhere, yeah, so like, yeah, basically they've functionally reprinted the cycle. Makes you curious when this sort of thing happens. It you can sort of see where, maybe you can see what's going on in my, well, get a feel for now. I've had a sudden thought about this. So where are we? Let's go back. Suddenly idea for a potential series here. So when you look at the deck, okay, so we're in a set which is what would that be? So blue, white, black. Let me just think about this. That would be, that is a shard, isn't it? Yeah, white, blue, black. So it is a shard set. I've got to be careful I don't go off too much of a side tangent here. So imagine, just as a whim here, taking this deck and producing a Shards of Alara block version. Just saying. Okay, anyway. I really like where this is going, actually. That's yeah, that will be fun to play around with that, I think. Okay. It does make me want to go through shards. Hands up anybody else who really likes the shards block. Yeah, I do. I think one of my attractions to it is there's a period between when I first started opening Magic cards, which was 10th edition, and I'd started then, and then the whole move to Nova Scotia thing became, it became a thing in my life, from not being a thing, and as a consequence I was doing other things whilst sets from 10th edition really through. I mean, I was aware of Lorwyn block, or the 2 mini blocks, and then when I got to Nova Scotia and got sort of reinterested in Magic. We were back up to around World Wake era, so like M10, Zendikar, that around that block. So when I started watching online tournaments, because of where Standard was, there was, Conflux, Shards of Alara block was still a thing. So I was seeing those cards. Plus, I think the first toolkit I opened on camera, it did have a Conflux booster in it, I think. So I opened Conflux Shards of Alara fairly early on in the 2010s, when I sort of got back into opening Magic boosters. And so it's just one of those sets which some of the artwork as well is just really amusing. Like the expressions on that's a cat's face. Does make me laugh. But yeah, they did some pretty wacky things in the block when you look at, and I think it was the first novel I read was from Shards. Yeah. Okay, Meddling Mage. Wasn't Meddling Mage a invitational card? I think. Pretty sure. Okay. Alliteration, Hate Bear. Oh yeah, good old Hate Bears. Creature type erratum. Invitational cards. Okay, so there's 14 invitational cards. Yeah. Cards designed by players who won invitationals. The original print traditionally features the winning player. I know one of these, wasn't there a bit of a problem because somebody else actually ended up buying the original artwork that wasn't the actual invitational person from what I remember, but I can't remember what card it was. Hey, we've gone down an invitational rabbit hole. Who would have thought? Let's look at these in their original form. So the first invitational was Avalanche Riders. I'm not sure as well, I get a little bit confused about these, whether like the order in which they were produced was the same order as the invitationals occurred, relative to one another. I think there was a bit of, again, wiggle room with some of these for whatever reason. I mean, the ones that are, in terms of if you were to ask me what ones I can sort of remember off the top of my head being invitationals, Meddling Mage, Shadow Mage, Infiltrator, Dark Confident and Snapcaster Mage are the ones. The rest I wouldn't know. They were invitationals. Oh, Rootwater Thief was an invitational. Yeah, we featured that in a previous Commander fodder episode. Okay. So let's just go back, see if we've got anything else worth thinking about here. I don't think we've looked at hate bears before. So small creatures with a hate effect, a white staple. I always assumed that they were 2/2s for 2, but that's not the case. Seems that tag has extended somewhat. First hate bear, Ink Numon Druid. I don't know when the term hate bear was first used. I'm assuming that's come in retrospectively. I mean, bears have been around for a long while. But, yeah, based on the Scryfall tagging, it looks like there hasn't been a lot of them until the modern era. And I suppose as well as there was a bit of a power shift, you probably, and again this is just me burbling off the top of my head, I would assume, I suppose a more accurate way of saying it, that there's a more 2/2s for 2 as we get more up to date because of the power shift, power creep. So because like a 2/2 for 2 with some major ability is, you know, something you're less likely to see, I think, in older Magic. The other thing that's interesting with stuff like this, you'll notice a lot of higher rarity cards here. So if I was to say, okay, what do hate bears look like at common? Well, yeah, not a thing. Again, just basis on the tag, obviously. I mean, there might be other cards that aren't tagged on Scryfall that people consider to be hate bears. But according to this tag, we don't see any at common. We got 11 at uncommon. $70 at rare, and what about a mythic hate bear? 8. Galactique. Yeah, so the only 2/2 for 2 hate bear at mythic, or printed at mythic, but did Galactique predate me? Yeah, it did predate mythic, because mythic wasn't a thing until after Lorwyn, or was it around the same time? Not sure on that. I can't remember actually. Can you drill down through these? Yeah. So mythics weren't a thing until after Lorwyn. Stormscape Apprentice. These are a cycle of apprentices. I don't know if they've been reprinted a ton of times. Let's have a look. Invasion. I thought one was in a Commander product. Oh no, one was in a dual deck. Yeah. That's right, yeah. There was one in a dual deck. Creature. So off color abilities. So we've got here the abilities themselves, when you look at them, are in relation to each other an enemy. But how they relate to the casting cost is this is an allied of this colour, as is this. So yeah. Okay, it would appear that I haven't heard a search for apprentices before, maybe. 35 apprentices. Okay, so here's a cycle, which is the one we've been looking at. Do we get cycles anywhere else? Strixhaven. Magecraft. Yeah, I'm trying to think when I'm doing this, like, you know, that other cycle, it wasn't obviously apprentices, but, you know, again, cards where you have a casting cost in one colour and then costs in other colours. I suppose if I go into off-colour ability, I might... Oh, here we go, Disciples. Yeah. And that will be what? So here, the relationship between this and this would be allied, and then the relationship between the casting cost and the individual activation costs are, so green blue's enemy, yeah, green black's enemy. Okay. The guild mages is what I was trying to think of, actually. Okay, guild mages, yeah. Okay. Voice of All. So this was an extension, I think, of a cycle. So it's cool. This deck's got quite a number of cycles in it. Yeah, Voice of Duty, Voice of Grace, Voice of Law, Voice of Reason, blue, red, black, green, white, Voice of Truth, and then Voice of All is everything. Yeah. And you can see, based on the set symbols here, and if we do this, help a bit. There you go. So 2 were printed in Urza's Saga. We've got a couple in Urza's Destiny. 1 from Nemesis. And then 1 from Planeshift. So, well, this was Urza's block. Nemesis was Mercadian Masks block. And then this is, we're now into Invasion block. So it's that mega cycle. And there's, you can't really tag this, but there are other cycles where, in addition to the cycle of 5, it's capped off with like a 6th card. And here you can see, in this case, it's all the colours. There's other instances where, you know, it's the 5 colours and then an artifact sometimes. Yeah, that sort of setup. So you have, you know, we're more used to seeing probably 5 colour cycles, but then you might see 5+1 where you get this 6th one that encompasses everything in some way, or might be an artifact, or, you know, that makes it playable in any deck, or some other reason. So yeah, they're always interesting ones to look out for, actually. Those sort of cycles where it's 5+1. Don't think, well, let's have a look. We'll see if there are any other things that have voice in them. At least start off with a voice. And I think it's all stuff at the end. Voice of Resurgent, Voice of Many. So what about Voice of then? One thing I probably need to get good at, but I must admit it's my least favourite thing to try and get my head round. I always have to relearn it every time, and that's like regex command, which I know you can do in here. That would actually be quite useful. So one day I've got to reacquaint myself with regex, actually, for a Python course I'm doing, the CS50 Python one, that course, and there's a module towards the end on regex in Python, so that might nudge me to bother to look at regex in Scryfall as well, which could be really helpful for some of the stuff here. Yeah, so lots of other sort of voices of in different contexts. You can see, I don't know if you can see, it's really clear here. These, what are these? Legendary creature. You got these two. I'm just looking to see what happened with that for legendary creatures. Anything interesting going on there? Looks pretty spread out actually. Okay. Absorb. Counter target spell, you gain 3 life. Well, that's been reprinted. Well, I say reprinted. There's what? Ravnica Allegiance, Commander Decks, and Domineria. But they've got like multiple artworks, so makes it look a lot more. Okay, counterspell. Oh, invasion cycle of counterspells. Interesting. Got lots of interesting stuff to look at today that we haven't really looked at before, which is always cool. So, what are we seeing here? Apocalypse, invasion. Let's get these around the right way. So, IPA, Invasion-Planeshift, Apocalypse. So this was from the 3rd set in the block. So none from the middle set from Planechase. Gain 3 life, its controller loses 3 life. Then you've got a snake with a counterspell targeted, stapled onto it. And you can play it any time you play an instant, which would now be referred to as flash. And then this one, oh, this is cool. That's a nice little set of spells. Oh. Okay. Counterspell life gain, yeah. Shares name with mechanic. Oh, so there's an absorb mechanic. Punish ignorance. Also, is that the same? It's a bit more expensive, but you get more. Controller loses 3, yeah, so you get more. Okay. It's Mirror of Ionize. Damage. Mirror of Undermine. Yeah, well, we saw that, didn't we? Shares a name with a mechanic. Can't tell whether it relates to that mechanic. Okay. It's an interesting tag to have in here. And it's a good way of actually checking that as well sometimes, you know, like where people might say, oh, it's a so-and-so effect. Yeah, that's actually quite handy. Nice artwork. Good old Afflict from the 10th edition. Exclude. Counter target spell with card draw for 2 and a blue. So cantrip. So yeah, cards which let you draw a card as they resolve or enter the battlefield. I can't remember if I'm right on here, but didn't the term originally refer to something that you got the draw on the following turn? But I don't know. But yeah, I'm aware now it just refers to this. I mean, historically, what was the first cantrip? Oh, yeah, which is something we have looked at before, but I just don't remember. Clairvoyance. Yeah, draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn upkeep. So that was a thing for quite a while until... Yeah, funnily enough, when we get to Portal, and I'm assuming that just made things simpler, because, you know, a lot of the mechanics, abilities, the whole structure of Portal was it simplified things. I believe that, was it the case that there weren't any instants in Portal either? And all the creatures had, was it like swords and shields down here, I think, if I'm right. And then after that you start to see it where it's just saying, I'll draw a card straight away. So yeah. Fact or fiction? It's been around for a while. Sort of on and off. Obviously looks like more likely in dual decks, Commander, and it was in From the Vaults. Mulch, alliteration, fact or fiction. So you've got pile dilemma based advantage, you know, is a thing, and it's cropped up in various guises in Magic. Not too many, like 20 taggings in Scryfall. Now, the bit that I was interested in is this mulch effect, so named after mulch. An effect that filters cards at the top of the library, putting remainders into a library. So in addition to it having that, you know, opponent chooses business, so reveal the top card of your library, and opponent separates those cards into 2 face-up piles. Put one pile in your hand and the other in your graveyard. So the wording on that, okay, yep, so it just goes into the, put one into your hand, so hang on. Mulch. Oh, it's filtering cards at the top of the, okay, yep, sorry. So yeah, filtering cards at the top of the library, putting them in the graveyard. Sorry, I misthought there as to what that was going on there. So yeah. So mulch as a side effect with that particular card. Yeah. So we've definitely got with mulch. Is there always some sort of, yeah, how did that define that? Effects that filters cards on at the top of the library. So yeah, there is a filtering effect that then results part of that filter going into the graveyard. So when did we see it prior to mulch? Ancestral memories. Okay. It's on, yeah, it's on Hermit Druid. Was that reprinted? It's alright, I don't know if it's a false memory, I just have a memory of, yeah, maybe, I'm not sure. Sometimes I'll see a card and think, oh yeah, I remember opening that, but I don't know if that's a false memory or not, because I've just done so many of these like virtual pack openings that sometimes that's why. Oh, Genesis Wave. Yeah. Borborygmus. It's the most recent mulchiness. Belinda Grand School from Wilds of Eldraine. Oh yeah, there we go, as a result of milling. As a side effect of milling. Right, Repulse. Return target creature card to its owner's hand. You get to draw a card as well. Removal creature bounce. So bounce on a creature. Better than symbol of unsummoning. And here remember we're returning the creature to its owner's hand. You're probably also familiar with bounce spells that bounce back to the top of the library as well. Better than, it's 2 and a blue, that's 2 and a blue. Return target creature to its owner's hand, draw a card. Oh, because it's a sorcery. So that, yeah, this is a sorcery, this is instant speed. What's this? Sorcery, 2 and a blue, return target creature to its owner's hand. Yeah, so yeah, that's that and that are functional reprints of each other, but they are worse than a repulse. Removal creature bounce. Yep, it's a thing. On lots of stuff, you know, instants, sorceries, stapled to creatures, and if I was to just search from here and sort of compare and contrast, so 12 cards where it's a creature bounce. And somewhere on here it mentions the library in some capacity. Interesting. Trying to remember cards like Unsummon. What's the wording on that? Return target creature to its owner's hand. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be different to search for. Just interested in cards that specifically bounce to the top of the library. Right, sweep away. Return target creature to its owner's hand. If that creature is attacking, you may put it on the owner's library instead. Ah, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, because it's referred to as tuck as opposed to bounce. Yeah, that's why it weren't coming up. I couldn't remember. And yeah, tuck is when you tuck it in the library. Bounce is when you bounce it back to the hand. So yeah, okay. Glad I've cleared that up in my mind. Aura Blast. Destroy target enchantments. And now we're getting into the area of the sideboard. Okay. Yeah, we've seen obviously lots of cards so far in these episodes which destroy target enchantments. This again is a cantrip, has this draw a card stapled to it. Similar to Clear, which has cycling on it. So you don't get to draw a card, but you do get to, instead of casting the spell, you can cycle the spell. And then we have Demystify, which just simply destroys the target enchantment without the card draw on it. That's one. So yeah, for an extra 1 here, you get the draw a card bit. And there we have the cycle of cantrips from the set, from Planeshift. Right, there have been a lot of cycles this morning. So what do we get? Let's see. So the white one is taking out enchantments. The blue one is dealing with, well, it's pretty specific. Counter target spell that targets 1 or more creatures. Implode destroys lands. Hurrah! And Sky Shroud Blessing gives, okay, lands shroud until the end of turn. And then Slay destroys a target green creature which can't be regenerated. And if we were to, let's look at the occurrence of these. Oh, Implode makes the list. But, oh wow, Slay. That's cropped up quite a bit. So, yeah, a couple of core sets there. And also in this dual deck, I keep seeing, we see this a lot, don't we? The Phyrexian versus the Coalition dual deck seems to have been cropping up quite a bit over the last few weeks. One of the things about this was, I think one of the decks was it mono colour and the other one was 5 colour, something like that. I think that's right. But yeah, a lot of stuff from this era. I do have that. Crusading Knight. Again, a lot of cards here as well. You know, Invasion's been the only printing. Okay. A Mirror of Marauding Knight from the same set. Black, hate swamp. Creature type erratum. So the only thing that really springs to mind in a rabbit hole is when you get, so 2 and 2 white, so CMC of 4 in white, so colour of white, that is power of 2 and a toughness. So essentially what would normally be a bear, but it's 4 to cast, what do you get? So there's a lot of 2/2s for 4 in white, 128, quite a number. Oh, War Elephant, yes. Banding and Trample. Elephants, Griffins and Unicorns. Oh, oh, and the voices. I didn't even cross my mind actually that, yeah, because all the voices fall into that category, don't they? They're all 2/2 flyers for 4, and they have an extra ability on them. I mean, with 2/2s for 4 in white, it's not unusual, I don't think. So let's just make a mental note, 128. So if we do flying 52, okay, so yeah, under a half. It's the case that the extra bit you get for paying that you know, excessive amount for a 2/2 is flying. And I mean, I suppose, yeah, when I do tend to think, you know, if you're playing what blue white flyers, yeah, sort of the, you know, the 2/2 for 4 is a thing you may often see. I mean, cranking it up a bit, if you're looking, you know, okay, right, 3/3 for 4 with flying. How much of that do you see? And then what about, and of course there's going to be variations of this, you know, like 4 1s and, you know, non-symmetrical flyers. So once you get up to a 4/4 for 4, apart from this, and you could say, okay, well, the downside is the mana combination. So, you know, what, with a 4/4 for 4 with flying, what's the problem? Like, what have they put in to try and make that not completely broken? So, you know, maybe make it difficult to cast, or have a downside on it, on there. Now, if we're looking across colours, I think it also gets really interesting. Like, how does the downside, if there is one, like manifest itself? It is helpful here to put them in, yeah, release date ascending, I think. So again, you can look out for things like power creep. So those are ones with like white in them. Let me just find, yeah, that was there. So interesting. So you know, there's blue, there's more of them, but that's not to say they don't have some severe downside. 4/4 for 4 with flying. Let's look at black. 60. Oh, put that in the wrong spot. There we go. So it's going to ignore power because I made a mistake. That's better. 9. Okay, red. What do you reckon? It's going to be dragons, isn't it? 17 of them. Have we got something really ridiculous that's recent? That so what do we have here? 4/4 for 4, so 2 and 2 red with flying and trample. Whenever Decadent attacks. Create a treasure token. Oh my. So what's that? All upside, I think. Whereas the earlier ones, yeah, that's somewhat dialed back there. And then are we going to see anything in green? I mean, well, we've got cards here that contain green. The only pure mono green will be Lurking Green Dragons. 3 and a green 4/4 with flying. It can't attack unless defending player controls a creature with flying. Well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense in green, actually. And there's a Traxxas. And yeah, good old Feldergriff. Although you have to activate the flying, actually, on that. Right, Disrupt. Counter instant or sorcery spell unless its controller pays 1. Well, these sort of cards we have looked at before. And referred to as soft counter spells, so that's where gives a sort of buy off chance. Similar to Flutterstorm. That one's got Stormy on it instead of draw a card. And this is the one to cast. And Miscast, which has what? Oh, slightly higher payoff. Okay. Counter instant, counter soaring, it's cantrip. I think most of these we've looked at. Anything interesting in the artwork? What the hell's this? That's what I want to know. Oh, a Phyrexian portal ship. Okay. Ah. Oh, okay. Where is the portal ship here? Are we going to play what spot the portal ship? Oh, look. Has anybody noticed that before? Wow. Yeah, I'm really curious. Has anybody noticed this lurking in caves of Koilos? Of course, people are going to say, yes, of course we have. But, yeah, wow. Cool. Okay. Gainsay. Oh, it's Pointy Man. Counter target blue spell. Planeshift was reprinted in... Yes, yeah, of course, reprinted in... Theros with creepy artwork, clearly inspired by, oh dear me, what's the it's gone, sci-fi film. It's going to come to me after I finish the video. So a cycle in Theros. Oh, worse than Jace's defeat. The Matrix. That's what I was trying to think of. So, okay. This is always interesting when you get these cycles which are brought together after the fact. So let's see if what we see here. So 4 of them first appeared in Theros, but the 5th one was actually a reprint from Planeshift. But let's give it the Matrix start influenced artwork. What was I going to do here? Oh, I know. Just see if any others were subsequently reprinted. Nope. And then last one, Pure Reflection. I think I've got all of these. I'm just going to check because sometimes I do accidentally miss off something. No, I think I've got them all. Okay. Pure Reflection. It's Invasion. So yeah, this was one I was going to look at because this is a pretty unique card. It mentions about reflections. So H Tribal Reflection. So unprinted token, repeatable token generator, which yeah, we can see that. You'll be near. No reflection tokens on the battlefield. Okay, so Spirit Mirror from Tempest. During upkeep, if there are no reflection tokens in play, put a reflection token into play. Treat this token as a 2/2 white creature. Destroy target reflection. And this one was for an invasion. This had already rotated out and wouldn't have been in here because of the fact that it was block constructed anyway. So it wasn't in standard, wouldn't have been in block constructed. Whenever a player plays a creature spell, destroy all reflections. Oh, okay. Then that player puts a white reflection creature into play with power and toughness equal to each. So yeah, it's a weird. Whenever a player plays a creature spell, destroy all reflections. Then that player puts a white reflection creature token into play with power and toughness, each equal to the converted mana cost of that spell. Okay, someone help with my ignorance here. I'm trying to think specifically why that would be in the sideboard. So what advantage does it give you? So whenever any player casts a spell, the reflections get destroyed. And the player that creates... So the player that casting the creature spell gets reflections. Oh, okay, so... Right. So I'm assuming if you're... Yeah, so that, yeah, this would be an advantageous if... Yeah, so this is a heavy creature deck, relatively speaking. So if you were going up a heavy spell against a heavy spells deck, you would get an advantage in... You would be creating more reflection tokens. Yeah. Particularly as well if you're playing over-costed creature spells, of which Voice of All is one. So if you play a Voice of All with a Pure Reflection and you've, you know, mainboarded that in like from your sideboarded it in, you're going to get a 4/4, aren't you? Which then, oh yeah, so I see. So every time in this deck, every time you're playing a reflection, it's destroying your previous reflection if there is one and replacing it with another one. Okay, but unfortunately, if your opponent's playing a lot of creatures and they're highly costed because it's based on the power and toughness based on the converted mana cost of the spell, then that could work against you. Okay, right, now I get it. Right, okay. Well, that's cool. Mana value matters. There is something I'm going to check on this, actually. Going to have to. Yeah, so the tokens have been printed. Anything else really? So you get to donate a token to yourself. Or not. I mean, I think I already know because of the card we've looked at already. What's going to come up? So most of these are because reflections up here. I think, yeah. And there's a spirit mirror from a few sets back. Yeah, from Tempest Block. So the thing I did want to quickly look at, just going into here, let me find it. I'll bring this up. Boom. I think you know what I'm going to check. So, what have we got? 218 decks, okay. Doesn't suggest a commander, I don't think. Oh, in the synergy area, so there is a legendary creature suggested for its synergy purposes. Okay, so probably not particularly good commander for today. Choose a creature type other than a legend or a wall. I suppose any card that says choose a creature type. Well, changelings would be, thinking about it, yeah, changeling would be reflections, wouldn't they? I didn't actually think about that. They would get included as well. So one last thing then. What's the thing for the set? Oops. I and V, I think, isn't it? So, yeah, I don't. I'm trying. Actually, no. Let's find out when it's easy to do it this way around. Actually. Yeah, there's something I have looked at before, so, but let's see when changelings did first become a thing, because they're the other thing that would be affected by this. Oh yeah, not until a lot later. So yeah, so that wouldn't have any impact on anything in standard. Okay, good to know. So there we have it. Hopefully you enjoyed that. That was a fun one to look through. Hopefully I picked quite a number of things that I haven't picked before. I think I did a pretty good job with that, actually. And going forward, it's given me ideas for different angles I can try as well, beyond the obvious. So yeah, thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future episode.